college as being, like this huge like party atmosphere where you're free from your parents and you're independent. You actually have to do some studying. So for studying habits, they're definitely different from what you would do in high school. I mean, for me personally, it was kind of different how I had to adjust to the different even class format. I'm an English major, so we do a lot of like large lectures, and then like as you go up in the upper div classes, then they become quite smaller. But even like without this like class structure, the studying that you would do for these classes are much different. I think in high school, when I took AP Literature, it was a lot of like interaction with the text. Like we had like group discussions, and then like or like we talked directly with the professors. But I think here it's more like lecture based, where the teacher is talking to you and you're absorbing the information and taking notes. So I think a lot of like how to study for these classes will probably be just like being really good at taking notes and like understanding the material as you hear it. And actually this is one of the worst ways to learn something. I think I read like a study recently. But so then in this case you probably have to go to like office hours and get a more personal approach to the text if you have any questions. And so basically like really understand like what you're learning, and if you're like unable to adjust to the new like lecture-based classroom setting and all these texts that are thrown at you, maybe you should think about like just joining more discussion-based classes. I think for upper divs we have more discussion-based classes, but generally for like the main classes that you take to declare the major, generally they don't have like discussion-based. So just take into consideration like how you learn, and then maybe adjust like the way you would learn or study according to like the class that you would be taking. Because I feel like for science classes they probably have like more interaction, like literally interaction with like labs and whatnot. So yeah, so just like be aware of what kind of classes there are and like what kind of materials you'll be having to interact with, and see what you can do with that.
Okay, so studying is really important when you're in college, because what happens is that in the first day of class they'll just give you a syllabus, and then you'll just have assignments that are due like 2 months after they've been assigned to you. So you really need to stay on top of your stuff and just really study like a little bit a day, and then everything becomes really easy. But if you cram like what a lot of people do, then it gets a little harder, but some people can pull it off and some people can't. Like I personally can't really do that. So generally before midterm, I'll start studying like 3 days before, and then just keep at it until the day of the midterm, where you just go on and take it. But with me, I didn't study at all in high school, and I didn't even know how to really study until I got to college. So what I do now is I just read, and I read really slowly, and I make sure that I understand what the concepts are before I move on. And then you just do like practice problems, and if you don't understand what you're doing, you can always go to office hours, because your TAs are always there to help you, and they're always down to help you. Or you can just email your professor, and then maybe they'll get back to you too. So generally what you want to do is just really stay on top of your stuff, and then everything just comes easy. Okay, so office hours are basically designated times where your TA will have an open like question and answer session in their office. So you can just bring in like homework that you need help with, or questions that you don't understand, and you can just go in there and you can just speak with them for a little bit, and then they'll give you all the answers that you want. But you won't always be the only person in there, because sometimes like right before midterm there will be like 30 people in there asking your TA for help. So you want to go in there early in the semester, get your name out there, build a good rapport with your TA, and then everything's gravy.